Well, hello, everyone. I'm Rosemary Nichols, and I'm a health educator for Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. And I'm here today to talk to you about microhabits to enhance sleep. Microhabits, by the way, are the tiny daily actions that can lead to big changes over time. So if you're attempting to accomplish a big goal, it gets more challenging. It's hard to maintain the motivation if you're trying to do it all at once. But what we do is we divide it into smaller, more manageable actions or steps, if you will, that can help us maintain motivation and ultimately create those new habits. So, what are habits and why are they created? So, there are usual ways of behaving according to the dictionary, and they are initially formed through the pursuit of goal. As a result, they can be pretty hard to give up. Did you know that about 45% of our daily activities are performed in almost the same context? In other words, they're habitual. We repeat them, first of all, because they work for us. They create structure, which help us to, reach those goals that we're aiming for. And in addition, they don't require the conscious effort that uses up energy. It takes a mental focus for, all the conscious things that we have to pay attention to throughout the day and, eliminate the distractions that get in the way. There was a book authored by Charles Duhigg titled The Power of Habit. And in it, he discusses the habit loop. He says the effects of our habits multiply as we repeat them. And according to science, habits are much more powerful than willpower for lasting change. I often tell people there's no such thing as, sustained willpower, right? Motivation tends to wane. And we're trying to engage in new behaviors like, enhancing our sleep, for example, or eating more fruits and veggies instead of the processed foods that we might enjoy. So let's take a look at this habit loop. It starts with some sort of a cue. Now, that cue can be time, like when the alarm goes off and you get up and brush your teeth, maybe take a shower, turn on the coffee pot. It can be location. You walk into the kitchen, and if that cookie jar is on the counter and you're hungry and it's just before mealtime, you go for a cookie. And later you think, I really should have had a piece of fruit instead. But the fruit wasn't obvious out there on the counter. So location. A preceding event, um, we get a ring on our telephone or some sort of a signal on our phone that we've got a message or we've got a phone call and we react to it. Or how about an emotional state? Feel kind of down, you're blue, or you're bored. And so in response to that, we eat. So whatever this cue is, it triggers the brain into, auto mode, we call it. That trigger is going to result in some sort of a response. Maybe depending on what the cue is, we're going to exercise. Are we going to get ready for work? Or we're going to eat because the clock says it's lunchtime. And ultimately, we're provided with some sort of a reward. Maybe, we feel better when we get up in the morning when we've had a good night's sleep, or we've done some exercise and we feel more fit and, we can move around, climb the stairs more easily without getting out of breath. So there's a reward which becomes associated with that cue, and we have what we call a habit loop. So we have some old habits. Maybe we'd like to change those, or maybe we would like to establish some new habits. The question arises, can we change our habits? And the answer is yes. And what's particularly helpful is using micro changes. We may have these long-term goals. Sometimes they may seem too big and maybe ultimately a little bit scary, if you will, sort of a fear of failure. So what should we do? If we want to change our behaviors, let's say we want to get rid of old habits, we want to become mindful or self-aware. Pay attention to your habits and what triggers them or what the cue is so that you can make a more conscious choice. This is a good way to help you extinguish an old behavior. This helps to take you off of autopilot. On the other hand, you want to establish new habits. You create small, consistent steps or actions, if you will. And the good thing about these is these are achievable. So you might have an overall goal that you want to enhance your sleep, but how are we going to get there? Little steps that we can achieve, that we can have a sense of, um, accomplishment, that we can feel successful about, can keep us motivated and moving forward. One of the things that we should do, even in creating these micro changes, is to track our habits and the little steps, track them. So maybe you want to um, shut off your computer or your electronic devices at 9 o'clock every night so that you can wind down, you know, uh, eliminate some of that blue light, get ready for bed to sleep, to enhance your sleep. You want to track that so that, whether you're using paper or you're using an app or whatever you're going to use, you write it down and you track your success. This is important because it helps us to see how well we're doing. And when we're doing well, boy, that motivates us. And if we didn't quite reach the mark, you can say, well, that's okay. What went wrong, if you will? Why didn't I shut my computer off every night? What got in the way there? And that can help you, uh, take a look at those things to fix them. And maybe you might even have to uh, change up, if you will, that little micro habit. Maybe it needs to be tweaked a bit. So tracking is very helpful. And you want to reward yourself when you stick to the new habit. Rewarding really sort of gives you a release of dopamine. It's like, wow, it's positive reinforcement. I'll do that again. I like it. And that can help you stay motivated. So that reward can be ever so simple. Sometimes it's patting yourself on the back. It's, notifying certain people, hey, guess what? I shut my computer off every night this week at 9 o'clock. And I really slept, I accomplished my goal of sleeping better or sleeping longer. I really woke up refreshed every morning. So, you give yourself a pat on the back. But be careful, who you share that with. I always say avoid the naysayers. You want to uh, engage with those people that are supportive of you. There are a lot of changes that we could make, but let's keep it simple. Identify one sleep habit that you want to change and build on that one. Just one. So this is a tiny or a micro habit. And this tiny or micro habit, when you're successful with it, because it's easier to be successful with these micro habits, will foster more good habits. So you're going to identify a few of these habits and you make them your own. Tiny changes are easy. They can become habitual, and ultimately they can result in bigger changes, that long-term goal, if you will. You feel a sense of accomplishment, which enhances your motivation, and ultimately you've got that new habit. So some examples. You shut off your phone as part of winding down at night. You write down the things that worry you in a journal so that you're transferring them from your mind to the paper. Or maybe you say, gee, I need to get a little more sunlight in the morning. I want to enhance my circadian rhythms. You do that by, you know, getting a little bit of 10-minute walk, maybe of exercise in a little bit of sunshine. And you get off the bus, the train, a little bit earlier to walk the rest of the way to work. And using cues or triggers will put the new routine on autopilot. So for example, maybe you're going to, maybe you routinely watch the 10 o'clock news. So when the 10 o'clock news comes on, this is an established habit. You shut off your phone as part of winding down. We put our bedclothes on at night. So after you put your bedclothes on, you take a few minutes, you sit down and you write down the things that worry you. And certainly, selecting a particular stop along the way to work, whether it's Broad Street or Commercial Street, whatever, when you see that street sign or, the name is called out on the train, or if it's called out on the bus, that's the cue to remind you to get up, get off the public transportation and walk the rest of the way. So using cues or triggers will help to put that new routine on autopilot. Some people talk about habit stacking, and basically that's what, we just reviewed. You use an already established habit and you connect it to a new tiny habit, a new micro habit. And so the old habit, the established one, becomes a trigger for the new habit. It really makes it easier to engage and to build that new habit. So after doing X, I will do Y, and we're going to give you some examples. And these all relate to enhancing your sleep. Now, maybe you have an animal that, can be very disrupting if it jumps onto your bed or if it sleeps with you. I could say the same thing for small children, right? But after brushing my teeth, I will put the cat behind the cat gate. After putting on my bedclothes, I'll read, X number of pages of a book instead of scrolling through my social media, which we usually recommend. We want to eliminate early enough before we go to sleep, all those electronic devices. After I put the kids to sleep, maybe you go to bed at 11, they're going to bed at 9 or 8:30. I'll put on the shower or maybe run a tub for a warm, relaxing bath. Again, this is part of my, my wind down ritual, and taking that bath or having that warm shower as the body cools afterwards, it's actually a signal to the body that it's getting ready to sleep, because our body temperature drops prior to our falling asleep, actually a couple of hours. But this can enhance that. After I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 5 minutes. So maybe, you've had a stressful day and you take some of that stress to bed with you. Or maybe after I brush my teeth, I will listen to relaxing music, or I will do yoga, some yoga stretches for 5 minutes. How about immediately after getting in bed, I will do some short breathing meditation. Or have you ever tried reviewing a list of the things that you're grateful for. Some people uh, write those down in a journal. So before getting into bed, actually, after you brush your teeth, you could write what you're grateful for in your journal. So you can make these up, whatever works for you. How about after taking my morning shower, I will sit by the window or step outside to enhance my circadian rhythms, get that little bit of sunlight, which is very helpful. Um, you want to write these down because seeing them is very helpful, being able to visualize them. And things, seem to be more real when we can actually see them, right? And it's a good way, then you can track them. You can track them on a daily basis. If competition is your thing, if you like to compete with yourself, you can bundle game playing with your sleep schedule. For example, maybe one of the things you're going to do is go to bed 15 minutes earlier than you usually do. That's something that you could do and really be successful at, because it's not, it's one of those micro habits, if you will. It's small. It's a micro step. And then give yourself a star for going to bed each time you adhere to the sleep schedule. So again, this is about tracking. And then you attempt to outdo your personal best every week. And you can use different color stars. So you're competing with yourself if you like to do that. And also, some people, rather than competing with with themselves, compete with others. People who are engaging in some of the same behaviors in an attempt to reach the same goal. In your bedroom, you can make behaviors easy by redesigning the environment. And you can also use the environment as a cue. Let me give you a couple of examples, because this should go along with those micro habits. So in your bedroom, eliminating clutter is really important. You want your bedroom to be a sanctuary. You want it to be a place where you can relax, where it's stress-free, and clutter can contribute to stress. Did you ever think about getting a white noise machine? You live, a little bit too close to a noisy street, for example. Or, maybe you're one of those people who has difficulty shutting off your brain when you get to bed at night. White noise machine, again, is very helpful. Or maybe you have tinnitus, that ringing in your ears, which is troublesome to some people. Again, this is very helpful. It can aid your sleep. How about a new pillow? Do you have neck pain? Do you have obstructive sleep apnea? Do you have allergies? The wrong kind of pillow can be problematic for your sleep. So, a pillow or even a mattress sometimes. And how about adjusting the lighting to use warm toned bulbs? Because remember, you want the environment, the light to be dim. That signals the body for sleep. As the light gets dimmer, melatonin levels rise. So adjusting the type of bulb is very helpful. And speaking of environment, why not, do that habit stacking I just mentioned? So you, are going to clean the kitchen after dinner. Use that as a trigger, dim the house lights. Again, that's, contributing to that signal that we're getting ready for sleep. Because many of us are, cleaning the kitchen and doing the dishes at 9:30 at night. Before you turn off the house lights, set the thermostat to 65 degrees. 65 to, 68 degrees, right around there, seems to be an optimal temperature for most people um, to be able to sleep comfortably. It can, enhance your sleep. We tend to go to sleep sooner, and we tend to stay to sleep. Body temperature again drops, remember, at night. Lowering the thermostat to this temperature again is in line with that. After you enter the bedroom for the night, which you're going to be doing, close the blackout curtains. So remember, we don't want bright light coming in through the windows early in the morning, especially when the time changes again, and it may be early, the light may really come in those windows before we really want to get up. Using a habit tracker immediately after you engage in a new micro habit is very important. So while you're waiting for the long-term rewards, that overall goal of enhancing your sleep, tracking these new little micro habits gives you immediate feedback. We want that immediate feedback because it's satisfying. It's rewarding in and of itself. I mentioned earlier, it's a visual cue that reminds you when you see it, oh, I have to be sure to do that. And that motivation, when you see how you're doing, that you're being successful, will spur you on. Anytime we're establishing goals, long-term goals, or even these little, micro steps, we may want to create a timeline, stick to it, and then don't forget, you want to reward yourself for being consistent. So, for example, maybe you're going to switch your caffeinated coffee that you would normally have after dinner or with dinner for some sort of a coffee alternative. Amazon, for example, there's a brand called Ticino where they have these wonderful coffee alternatives. It's coffee flavored drink, and some of them add vanilla or raspberry, all other different kinds of flavors as well. And their body is such that you almost feel like you're drinking coffee. So you avoid coffee and you drink the coffee alternative in the evening for 1 month, and then you reward yourself. Maybe earlier in the day, or, maybe it isn't even every day, but after you're successful for 5 days or a week, you go to your favorite coffee shop and you have that special, uh, more expensive caffeinated coffee drink. I can't say enough about support for behavior change. So as you're working towards those long-term goals and you're focused on these little mini steps, if you want, micro steps, it's important to have people that will be supportive. So you might involve a family member or others in a plan who's going to support your efforts. So if you're trying to get a good night's sleep, um, to hear blaring music or a lot of other noise around your bedroom can be very, very disruptive. So people that will support you, that'll kind of go along with what you're trying to accomplish. And they can also, uh, be your cheerleader. Say, good for you. This is important that you do this. You can commit And this is important too, because you're verbalizing, you're committing to making this change by announcing your intentions to members of your social circle. Again, but be selective. Those people that would be supportive, not the naysayers, or those people I think of as toxic, who remind us that we're never going to do something. And maybe you want to embrace friendly competition. So maybe there are other folks that are engaging in some of the same micro behaviors, if you will, or steps, because they also want to improve their sleep. I think it's important to remember that any change that you make, it's almost 100% that you're going to slip up on occasion. Don't beat yourself up. That's very important. And learn from your slip ups. What could you have done differently, or what happened that you didn't engage in that behavior that you had intended to? So be mindful, increase your skill of noticing, what was different so that I didn't engage in that behavior tonight. This takes you out of automatic mode. You want to learn from the slip up as opposed to beating yourself up. So it helps to take a good enough, I did okay, well enough approach. And, tomorrow, I'll get back on track rather than throwing your hands up and just say, I can't do this. That's very important in any behavior change. So remember, when we're working towards a big goal, these small micro habits really can be very helpful in helping us work toward that larger change. You want to identify the factors. In this case, we're talking about sleep, that are most disruptive to your sleep, and focus on those behaviors and make those your own. Focus on those alone. If these are small steps, they're going to be easier to achieve and you're going to feel successful. This helps to wire in those new habits. But remember, this means that you have to set the bar low enough so that you can be successful. And many of these micro habits, micro actions, very often are things that can be done, in a matter of just a couple of minutes. Small changes. Have a mindset of practice and revise. So again, if we're tracking it, which is very helpful, and we find we slip up too often, maybe we have to make a revision in this little step or action that we've created. Very, very important. Not only remind yourself of, yes, I need to do this today, but the future benefits that you're going to receive by changing your behavior. This is always important when you're trying to change behavior. I would write my benefits down. What are the benefits of enhanced sleep? Will I be more focused, for example? Will it help me to control my body weight? Yes. Does it help to control blood sugar if you have read about many of these things, or blood pressure? Remind yourself daily of the future benefits that you're going to achieve by changing the behavior and engaging in the new behavior. And lastly, if sleep difficulties are persistent or severe, or they, are going to have a major impact on your daytime alertness or functioning, you need to talk with your primary healthcare provider, because there may be something that they need to be involved with. I've listed a number of resources up at the top. Most of these are URLs, places like Penn Medicine, or Cleveland Clinic. There's articles that deal with habit stacking and micro habits, and 2 books at the end. Um, Atomic Habits that talks about tiny changes, and The Power of Habit by Dunning. And with that, we're at the end. I hope I've given you um, some information that you can use with regards to microhabits and sleep. And remember, you can create these microhabits for other areas of health and wellness as well. And with that, I want to thank you um, and wish you good luck if you're working on enhancing your sleep because it's so important. And have a good day. Bye bye now.